Now what I want to do, I want to display the employee list here in this list box. So when I click the trainee engineer, I get all the trainees that are present. Click on the software engineer, I get all the software engineer employee list, and for the programmer analyst and for the senior software engineer as well, I want to get the employee list for each of the designation list. So for doing this, I have to create another method. So let's create it. Public void associated employee. Okay, here we will write the query. So string query equals to select from employee. We have to join it with the inner join designation on employee dot emp des id means employee designation id equals to designation dot designation id designation where designation dot des id equals to at des id. Okay, so if you are having any trouble understanding what query I have written here, what does it do or what will it do, so I will again remind you, this is a C# course, not a database programming course. If you want to know what this query is all about, so you should watch my other videos about the database programming. So let's move ahead. Now we will use another class called MySql command, which in which we will assign the query and the connection. So query and the connection string, which is MySql connection. Now we will use the MySql data adapter. MySql data adapter. We will simply give the adapter the MySql command, and now using the MySql data adapter, now we have to give this designation ID a value. This value will be the selected value path of the list box 1. So we have to come to the examine portion, and I will simply search for the property which is selection selection change, means when the selection of the list box changed, then what to do. It simply created a event here. Now we have to assign the value of the selected designation ID here. For doing this, we will use the MySql command. So MySql command dot parameters dot add with value. We will simply give the name of the value, which is des id, and the value will be list box 1 dot selected value path. So list box, once a selected value path will be the value of this designation ID, and it will be implemented in this query. So okay, we don't want the path, we just want the value. So list box one dot selected value will be okay. And now we have to create the data table for the employee list. So data table class will be used, and we should name it as employee employee table, which will be our data table. So we have created an object of data table named employee table. Now we will give the values to the employee table, which we have provided to the MySql data adapter. So we have to fill the MySql data adapter data to the employee table. So we have to use the fill function and fill the data to the employee table. Okay, now we have the values filled into the employee table. Now we have to implement it to the list box to display the data's employee list to the list box. We have to display member path, which will be our employee name, and the selected value path will be our employee ID. Now give the data context, give the item source as employee table dot default view. Okay, now we have set the list box to member path and value path, and we are taking the data from the employee table. Okay, now we want to display the employee table whenever the selection of the list box 1 means the designation 1 changes, means whenever we change the selection of the list box 1, we want to display the associated members of that selected value path of the list box. Means when we select a training engineer, we want the employee list of training engineer, software engineer, employee list of software engineer as well. So we have to implement the associated employee method to this event handler of the list box 1. Means when the list box 1 selection changes, then associated employee method will be called. Okay, now we have done all the programming. Now let's check if it's working or not. Working fine. We are getting the employee list of the training engineer. Okay, software engineer also, program analyst and senior engineer we are getting, and the list is updating when we change the selection of this list box. So we have created a simple program to just check the employee list of a specific designation. Now if you want to improve the UI or fill it with some color, change the font size, font family, uh, you can play with the XML code here. So we will just do it. So first of all we will make this list box bigger, this one also. You can change it accordingly. So now I want to enlarge the text size of the label. So font size to 24. Okay, this is okay. And for this label also, font size to 24. Okay, this looks good. And I want the background color of this window, of this grid, as background. I will give the hex code as FAEDEC. Okay, now you can see the background color changed. I want to change the text size of the text box also, so font size as 24, and here also font size 24, and font weight as bold. Now let's run the program. Looking prettier than previous. Yeah, it's fine as a simple program. It is fine, no issue. We can change the background of the list box also. So for changing the background of the list box, just press background as FE0, and here also background as FE0. Okay, now let's run the program. Yeah, it's looking good. It's fine. It will work. So this was all. You can go ahead and play around with the UI. You can change the text color of the label or text weight of the label. You can change the text color of the list box, or you can change the background color accordingly as what you like, what is the taste of your color. So simply we have learned how to connect the MySql database to the Visual Studio C# program, and it is an important topic. From here you should know how to connect MySql database to C# program. It will help you in creating advanced C# window applications where you have to work with a lot of data, so you can simply get the data from the database like MySQL, Oracle, or Microsoft database, any database you want or you like to use. So that's all. Have a nice day. And a quick reminder that if you want this code, then I have posted this code to my blog channel. I will give the link in the description. You can get the code and the XML code from the link which I will provide you in the description.